Hello, everyone, and welcome to the OneGold channel. Today, we're excited to chat with Jim Forsythe of Citizens for Sound Money. Jim, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, so let's start with an introduction about yourself and Citizens for Sound Money.
Yeah, I'll give a brief intro on myself because it's relevant. But I studied Russian in high school. Went to the Soviet Union as a kid in '84 and '86, and that's where I learned how vital free markets are and liberty, and became a big proponent of liberty. Joined the Air Force to defend against communism and did such a great job. The wall fell pretty quickly. But when I got out of the military, I was up in New Hampshire and Ron Paul announced, and I worked hard on his campaign, was really excited for that. He endorsed me to run for Congress. I didn't, timing wasn't good for that, but I ran for state senate, got elected, passed education. I was sponsored and passed education tax credits, medical marijuana. So a lot of good liberty issues. And then I was Ron Paul's campaign chair in 2012. So Ron Paul was what brought me. I was already a believer in liberty, but he brought me into the sound money movement. And then fast forward to today, when I saw kind of the macro unfolding, silver squeeze happening, things like that, I wanted to get active, and so along with Marion Ward, we formed Citizens for Sound Money. We're a 501c4. We've got a board that's populated with people that are outside the industry, so we're trying to represent users of sound money, users and investors of sound money. And First couple of years have focused on kind of building up our resources and encouraging people to use sound money. And recently we hired a legislative director, and we've got a legislative initiative that includes, first off, recognizing we're doing this at the state level, where I think we can make good progress compared to the federal level. But having states recognize gold and silver as legal tender, perhaps establish a state depository, and in the 21st century, for gold and silver to be used as money, there really has to be a digital component. And so then that's the final part of our bill is having the states not only have physical currency but be able to have it transferred digitally. So
Great. Well, thanks for the introduction. So you mentioned a little bit on digital currency. So we were actually at the Rural Symposium conference last week in Boca Raton, Florida, and there were a lot of hot topics over there. And one of them was the central bank digital currency, or CBDCs. I guess what are your thoughts on those?
well, I'm very much against them. If you look at what happened in Canada with the truckers,
Yep.
you know, a central bank digital currency could allow them. Well, it would allow them, a lot of control over people, in terms of if we don't like what you're spending or forcing people to spend, discouraging savings. So I think it's a big threat. I think that's part of our reason for this legislative initiative, or at least part of the motivation is to provide an alternative. And we, along with Nate Fisher, coined the term asset-backed digital currencies, and I think those are really the antidote to central bank digital currencies.
Yep. Yeah. I guess another popular topic we were talking at the conference too is this upcoming BRICS gold-backed currency. What are your thoughts there? Do you think that they'll be able to pull it off, or do you think maybe it won't work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of debate on Twitter about that, and I think people saying, well, these countries aren't going to voluntarily adopt gold currency because they want to be able to print. I think that's fair, but I think a gold digital currency is actually inevitable. I think it will happen. But I'd see it, the first stage as being kind of a wholesale country level currency to allow these countries to buy commodities using gold. And it's interesting that the South African, somebody from South Africa downplayed it, but if you look at what Lavrov and others are saying, it certainly seems to be something they are discussing. But I wouldn't expect some announcement and then the gold currency is there, in August. But it may take a while. But I do think that's the direction they're going to head, and I think it's kind of inevitable, really.
Yeah. Do you think it would ever get to that point when it's I guess redeemable at the user level? So not on the government levels, but let's say you and I had a unit of this currency and we went to one of the BRICS and said, "Hey, I want gold." Do you think it will ever get to that point?
Um, My guess is they'll probably do something like wholesale country level
Sure.
versus at for the user level. What I'd like to see is kind of what you guys are doing, a bunch of other people are doing is, at the retail level, people would have their, bank, and it would
Yep.
have gold and silver, and it would be digitally transferable, and it would be redeemable, because it has to be redeemable for it to be that's how you test the system. That's
Sure.
how you, and if you, I mean, that's why bank runs happen, right? They were looking at it and say, "Holy cow, the fractional reserve, is they only have 10% of the gold there, so they do a bank run." And so redemption is key to keep any sort of system stable. And so yeah, whether they do that at the you know the country level for users, there's a lot of how do you call it? Yeah, there's a lot of complicating factors there. I
Sure.
just see if they introduce a wholesale country level gold currency, that's great. But then I hope that we see a thriving industry in the asset-backed digital currency of commercial solutions to do the same thing at the user level. And you can place your trust in a company that you trust versus placing a trust in a government institution.
Yep, agreed with you there. And that was something we've even talked with a couple of people at the conference too, even with OneGold, which you could buy in gold and silver and platinum in 0.001 ounce increments. So you basically
Right.
hold it. And then we even talked about potentially even launching a debit card where you could spend your gold, so you could put it into the system. And let's say you want to go the other way too, and it is redeemable also for gold too. So you could get your gold in, you could get your gold out. It truly is this all-encompassing system. But that's good to hear on your end. I guess I wanted to switch gears a little bit too on obviously that the Fed is in the news a lot too. I know they hiked rates 25 basis points last week. I guess what are your thoughts and feedback on what's the Fed going to do in the next couple meetings? Do you think they have inflation under control? What do you think they'll do?
Um, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do short term, but
Sure,
if you look at the debt to GDP ratio, the interest expense on the debt, this is not sustainable. You
of
can only
course.
keep interest rates for, you know, so in order to not default, um, they really have to inflate away the debt. So I think that's coming, but how long they'll keep rates up, I don't know, but it can't go on forever, and yet not. We've had some more banking failures. That's going to continue,
Yeah,
perhaps get worse. And so at some point, they're going to have to um, pivot or do something. But
yeah.
yeah, it's not good.
I heard a speaker at the conference too, and he was mentioning there's a couple options too. I mean, one is you default, which obviously I don't think is going to happen. Two is you print away, which is likely the path. Or three, you go find an enemy, and you potentially go to war, which which which
Actually,
which which is, I guess, an alternative. You hope that you don't go that way, but I mean that's another way out of it.
yeah, I got to say that's my big fear. If you look at sovereign debt crises throughout history, they tend to result in wars.
Yeah,
Um, and as a veteran, I was Air Force pilot. Um, I don't want to see that happen. And so for me, like this is not wearing my C4SM hat. This is me personally, but when I'm looking at presidential candidates, my litmus test is foreign policy. If they're pro war, that's a non-starter, because if we get a war, nothing else, none of the other policies are going to matter. So
great. So I guess a couple minutes before we started recording, you were telling me about one of the new initiatives you were doing. Do you mind elaborating on that a little bit?
yeah, so Daniel Diaz we hired him as his legislative director. He's got a background where his family came from Cuba, so like me going to the Soviet Union, that's his inspiration for wanting freedom and sound money. And we're standing up a legislative initiative. We're going to target, I think, five states, although we've gotten some requests from other states now. Please target us.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's having the state legalize gold and silver as legal tender, potentially setting up a depository. That kind of depends on the size of the state, whether that makes sense or not. They can always rely on a third party depository, and and then either creating or getting a vendor to have a digital currency for the state, a gold-backed digital currency that is both redeemable and that you can deposit into. Like I said, I think that's key. Is you have to have that cash option. So Daniel was at a crypto mining conference down in Florida. He met a lot of people down there. He got picked up bill sponsors in the Senate and the House for Florida, and the backing of the Florida Christian Family Coalition. They're backing our legislation, and it's on its way to. Well, we've been asked to provide a policy paper on it for Governor DeSantis. So, and then we're looking at New Hampshire, I think Utah, South Carolina. We've made some good connections up South Carolina, several states like that, and we're working with and happy to work with you guys as well. Different vendors to supply. To have testimony to say, hey, this is not some wild and crazy idea. It's being done right now by
Yep.
A number of companies.
Yeah. So I know obviously I'm a big believer in precious metals. You are too. Do you think this could be the I guess the thing that helps to make precious metals more mainstream? Like I know one of the things I said when I was speaking at that conference in Florida too is as the largest dealer in the nation with Amex, we have just over 2 million customers, and you look at the population of the U.S., 300 million people, more than that right now, but still just not a lot of awareness in precious metals. Do you think this is going to be the driver that makes it mainstream?
I like to think so. The reality is having these digital systems and ways to spend your gold and silver, that can be done privately, but having a state come in and kind of support it and endorse it and use it, collect taxes with it, I think would go a long way. Um, and what was I going to say about that? Um, I don't know, lost my train of thought on that.
No, that's perfectly fine. Any other thoughts or comments you have, or you want to talk to our community about what you're doing about the precious metals market or anything else?
Um, Just, we'd love for people to sign up, citizensforsoundmoney.org, sign up for our newsletter. We actually do a little thing where we send out a newsletter each month and we give a coupon code so that people can get these fifth ounce silver rounds that we made.
Okay, nice.
And we like doing the fifth ounce because, well, first of all, it has our website on there, but then you can
Yeah,
give them away to friends and family and educate them on sound money, but yet without breaking the bank because they're fifth ounce instead of, and um, and we sell those at cost, with that coupon code every month. So it's a way for people to get some stuff that they can hand out and educate people. And just we also have a Reddit community, United for Sound Money. We'd
okay.
love to have your participation in that. It's really focused on the sound money aspects versus, like, say, silver squeeze or anything like that. And the digital transferability of gold and silver is a big part of that, big part of the conversation we're having there.
Yeah, anything to get the word out on precious metals, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and you know, this recognition of, if we want it, there's like the stacker mentality. If you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Yep.
But I don't think that serves. I mean, that's great. Everybody should have a stack free of counterparty risk for sure.
Yep.
But we need to move towards viewing gold and silver as money, being able to spend it, and use it in our daily lives if we're going to make a difference.
Yeah. How do you think that plays with Gresham's law, where they say the I guess the good money drives out the bad, and people tend to hoard the gold and silver. Obviously, they if I had a choice, do I spend my fiat dollars or do I spend my gold? I'd probably choose to spend my fiat dollars and hoard my
Oh
gold. I
yeah,
guess.
no,
I guess what are your
yeah,
thoughts on that?
absolutely. And so, I mean, there's um, it's funny because I will tweet, or other people will tweet stuff about how we spend our gold and silver on this, and people are like, "You're an idiot for spending your gold and silver." And my response is, "Well, you're an idiot for holding fiat."
Yeah.
Like, I'm spending my gold and silver because I that's what I have.
Yeah.
I'm trying to move where I'm using gold and silver as my banking system
Sure.
versus having fiat. And I'm fortunate that for some of my endeavors, I actually get paid in gold and silver. So
Okay.
I don't have much of an option other than to spend it.
Yeah, no, that's good, and maybe we come to a system eventually where you don't get paid in fiat, you get paid in gold and silver, and that essentially becomes your bank account, and that's why you're spending your bank account because that is your
Yeah.
liquidity.
No, we're working with companies that's the path they're heading down. Is
Okay,
it'll be optional for the employees, but hey, we'll pay you in gold and silver if you prefer.
okay, yeah, good
But
to hear.
you need a digital component to make that easy.
Yeah,
Um,
100% agree with you there. Any other thoughts before we wrap up?
um, no, I don't think so. I think it's a really
Okay,
good conversation. Kudos to what you guys are doing. I actually set up a OneGold account a long time ago, I think.
okay, good to hear. Great. Well, Jim, thanks again for being on our channel. And for any of the listeners who do want physical precious metals, which I highly recommend you do buy, check us out at atmex.com if you want the physical, or if you want to check us out at onegold.com if you want a vaulted solution too.